Clair Obscur Expedition 33 released on April 24th in 2025. And on that day, ladies and gentlemen, that was the day that my expectations of what a video game could and should be were completely shattered. By the time I beat this game, not only was I impressed, I was changed. I was taught how to grieve, how to live, how to appreciate the fleeting moments that were given. Calling this a game feels disrespectful. This is art. Full stop. So to prove that I'm not just being dramatic or being dramatically convincing, I'm going to make a long-winded video essay about my journey on Expedition 33, and maybe, just maybe, if you stick around, you'll see what I saw and you'll feel what I felt. Now let's get suited up. I hope you're happy. Wee wee. That's Italian. I have a wee wee. So a couple things before we get started. One, I grew out my mustache just for this video. And two, if you haven't played Clair Obscur Expedition 33, now is your time to click off the video and go play the game. So before you even start the game, you get to the main menu and you're probably, if you're like me, stuck there for at least 15 minutes just listening to the music. Once the game starts, you revealed a city that's very similar to Paris. It has the Eiffel Tower, but it's a little bit warped. Next, you see a suited man named Gustave who's staring over the ocean at a large number 34. A young girl named Mime walks up to Gustave and talks to him about how he's going to approach Sophie. They have a little bit of a back and forth, and then Mael asks you to follow her to the celebration. So you follow Mael and you learn that while you're parkouring, you're using these weird like magical rope things to cross different buildings. And then Mael asks you to a duel. And this is where they introduce the basic combat mechanics of the entire game. As many of you already know, this is a turn-based game, but it's very different. You're shown that you have a list of different abilities and you have mana as well, but here's the thing about this game. At every moment during combat, you're doing something. Even after you choose an ability, you have a quick action where you have to time your button correctly to get the most amount of damage. While you're defending, you actually have the option to dodge or parry. So no more are the times of you setting your controller down and scrolling on TikTok while the enemy does its attack. You actually have to pay attention or you will die. So whether it's offense or defense, you're doing something. So anyway, you Palpatine Mael and she somehow lives. What the fuck? Finally, Gustave meets up with Sophie. So Sophie and Gustave have a conversation that seems just a little bit awkward, but also sweet at the same time.
You know, I'm sorry that... I missed you. You don't need to... Okay. You go. No, you.
You learn during this conversation that Sophie is actually Gustave's ex. Dang, Gustave, I didn't know you had it in you. Gustave does hand a rose over to Sophie as she puts it around her neck. Sophie then asks Gustave to actually walk her down to the dock. As I walk, I see dozens, if not hundreds, of potted roses. Almost as if no one's there to attend them anymore. I finally make it to the town square, and the very first person I meet is this bitch Marie. The moment you start to talk to her, she immediately tries to argue with Sophie about why she didn't have any children.
And it destroyed my relationship with the person I loved the most.
Little awkward. So as I continue to the dock, I see a few people that I interact with. One guy you meet is a guy who's trying to write a newspaper article, and then you learn that Sophie was actually a part of that team. Then you meet a couple kids who are dressed as Gestrals, whatever that means. All right, I did weirder shit when I was a kid, I guess. Then a sewing teacher who's also part of the Gommage, which apparently is what this celebration is called. Then I talked to a girl whose father never came back from Expedition 34. And you learn that no expedition has ever made it back. I make a quick stop over by some barefooted lady playing the guitar. Huh. Hippies. I'm sure she's one with nature, too. Then I stop by a painter who promises to immortalize Sophie in a painting. I finally make it to the harbor with Sophie and Gustave. They stand at the end of the pier, looking out to the ocean at the giant number 34. Then it happens. The game gives you a moment of silence. No music, no dialogue, nothing. Then suddenly, people start to vanish. And then, Sophie.
I'm here.
I know.
Sophie, a woman we maybe knew only for 20 minutes, is gone. Her connections to the people in the town, her relationship with Gustave, it's all gone. All we're left with is Gustave, a broken man of determination, and only the sound of grief washing over him. Never have I ever played a game and it make me cry like a baby in the first 30 minutes. I am from this point forward completely invested in this story. I have to figure out who the Paintress is. I have to find a way to save everyone. If not for the people, but for Sophie. For Gustave. See, everyone that disappeared was of the age 33. Every year, the Paintress paints a new number, and everybody that age or older disappears. And it's been happening since 100. Technically 00, but we're not gonna get into that. Holy shit, dude. That was sad as fuck. Well, I guess the only thing left to do is to prepare for the expedition. So Gustave and Maëlle set sail on the ocean to the Paintress. Everyone's head high and ready to start fucking shit up. Oh, fuck. As soon as you land on this island, some random old man with a cane cuts off an expeditioner's head. And then monsters are running around, and there's giant fucking hands, and then Gustave dies? That, ladies and gentlemen, was just the prologue. This game has managed to make me smile, cry, and yell, and it hasn't even been the first act yet. The tone this game sets from the very start is mind-blowing. But let's see what Gustave is up to. Gustave wakes up in a bloody mess and clearly trying not to have a heart attack, considering that he might be the only person left alive. So I walk forward with Gustave and find my very first fight. It's some weird monster with a staff pole thing, but it also has this weird blue ball on its face. In this fight, I learned that enemies actually have a weak spot, and to hit that weak spot, you actually use your gun. Pow pow, bitch! I defeat the creature and move on, and as I'm walking through this beautiful atmosphere, I can't help but notice that everything feels alive. You hear birds chirping, you hear water moving, but then I discover piles of bodies of previous expeditioners. Strangely, all of these bodies are completely petrified. I walk into this cave and I see a mountain of dead bodies, and they're all connected to some weird blood webbing. Sitting in front of the mountain of dead bodies is actually one of the expeditioners that tried to console Gustave when Sophie passed. She dead. She real dead. In this moment, you see Gustave lose all hope. He manifests a pistol and brings it to his temple. But after he closes his eyes and before he pulls the trigger, he hears a voice in the dark.
You do that, we both die.
Wait. Isn't that the hippie lady with the guitar from before? Gustave argues that they're already dead. I mean, look at their teammates. They're literally piled up in a cave. That's when Lune gives her legendary quote.
When one falls, we continue.
No sooner than when she says that, Cabrakan from Smite pops up. Apparently, these monsters are called Nevrons. So Lune and Gustave get up and they fight this creature in the cave. This is where you learn that attacks and enemies also have elemental types, meaning that some things are strong against enemies and some things are weak against enemies. Basic Pokemon stuff. So Gustave and Sophie defeat the Nevron, and this is where you learn about the Lumina Converter. The Lumina Converter is able to grab the essence of these monsters and create them into Pictos. And Pictos are basically just passive skills that you can attach to your character. I'll be honest with you guys, most of the time with little stuff like this, I don't pay attention to it until I absolutely have to. So I didn't really do anything with Pictos until way later in the story. That's just me. You should probably not do what I did and actually use them. It'll make your run a little bit easier, but we continue. Lune mentions that the Indigo Tree is actually the meetup point for any surviving expeditioners. So that's our next stop. Along the way, you find a flag, which is basically the bonfire for this game. You're able to rest and get your health and abilities back, and you're able to level up your characters. But what's cool about this is the flag that's left has the expeditioner number on it. So whatever number is on that flag is the group of expeditioners who left it. So I use this flag to level up some of the skills of the characters. And Gustave weirdly has like these locked abilities. You go to Lune and she has abilities you can see, but Gustave has abilities that are locked. I didn't know what this meant at the time. I just assumed that maybe he got like a new form later in the story. It's probably not a big deal. I'll just keep moving forward. This is when I discovered this huge, gorgeous open area. Music starts to play here almost as if it's welcoming me, as if it's washing over all of the trauma that I just suffered through. In the distance, you see the monolith with the painted number 33, and then you see these weird scattered rocks in the sky. But before I move forward, I have to do what every gamer does. I gotta check every corner of this area to make sure that I don't get FOMO. In one corner of the area, I find a mini boss. It's a mime. Okay, no big deal. I'm sure this guy's gonna be pretty easy. Screw this guy. It took me like 4 times to beat him. Either way, I beat him and I unlocked a mime outfit for Gustave. But just so you know, for the rest of this video, I like to wear outfits that are more like canon for the lore, so that way if I hit a cutscene, it's not weird. But that's just me. So after looking around for about 15 minutes, I move forward towards the Indigo Tree and I run into a white Nevron. I learned that the white Nevron is not exactly aggressive. It's just kind of sitting in a cave. After talking to it, you learn that the white Nevron was painted by the Paintress, supposedly. You also learned that the reason why all of the expeditioners that died here are turned into stone is because their chroma is trapped inside. The white Nevron then asks you to find a light for his lamppost, and I'll be honest, I didn't take any effort to find that thing. Now, I battle my way through the forest, and I see a flare shot in the distance. So I head towards that flare, and I see Leo? Leo, is that you? Oh man, it's nice to see you. I thought everyone died. Ooh, that's rough, buddy.
Fuck. It's big.
So I fight this giant Nevron, and during this fight, I learned that there's also shield properties. Every fight, I feel like I'm learning a new mechanic. Anyway, after a couple tries, I finally beat the giant Nevron who killed... What was his name again? I finally make it to the Indigo Tree where a red message is left saying that Mael was brought somewhere. Mael, as in like, Mael? Okay, we gotta go. So as soon as you leave the forest with Gustave and Lune, you're welcomed into this open world? Wait, this game has an open world map? This place looks huge. This open world map will now be the way we travel from one dungeon to the next. What I love about this open world is it really feels like everything's alive in it and it's not very stagnant. I mean, every corner there's either like a really cool dungeon to go to or there's enemies that are just open that you can run into. Then immediately from here, you go to camp. This is the cutscene that I'm sure most of you are familiar with where Gustave says, fuck the mission. But Lune, of course, is the goat that she is, says when one falls, we continue. As soon as I leave the camp, I may have gotten a little distracted. Okay guys, hear me out. There is a portal that told me not to go in, so I had to go in. Okay, no problem. I'll be able to clap this in no time. Okay, after about 6 or 7 tries, I decided to give that up and we'll just go get Mael. Now we entered the Flying Waters. This level design is incredible. It's everything that an underwater map would have, except there's no water technically. There's fish and whales and all kinds of other things, but you're not swimming through anything. It's just you walk through it like any other level. But make no mistake, this design is incredible. This entire level is beautiful. It's one of my favorites. So after fighting a couple baddies, I finally make it to our destination, which is this weird door, like a human-made door in this area. So I walk into the door and then I'm teleported into a mansion, and it has everything that you think a rich mansion person would have. Nice furniture, a bunch of paintings on the wall. Then after perusing the mansion, I finally find Mael. Gustave embraces Mael. Finally something good happens to this man. And then what the fuck is that at the door? Some weird faceless creature approaches the door and Mael says he's the one that saved her and has been taking care of her. So as you go to leave, you now speak to the weird faceless creature who's apparently named the Curator. The Curator now wants to duel you and make sure that you're prepared to leave. Guess what, guys? It's time to learn another mechanic. This mechanic isn't too crazy. You just learn that there's jump attacks. Whenever the yellow symbol pops up, you have to jump and then you attack while you're jumping. The very first thing you do the moment that you walk out of the mansion is meet my boy Noko. Noko is a small Gestral, just like those boys back in Lumierre we're talking about, and you learn that there's actually another sea to cross to get to the Paintress. So Noko promises to take you to his village where you can talk to the chief, and the chief might have an answer on how to cross that sea. So now we set forward to Gestral Village. No biggie, I'm just gonna walk out of here with no problems. Is that a fucking mime again? Okay, I fought another mime. It's dead. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So right before I leave, I see this red field of flowers with a rose in the middle. A cutscene happens as Gustave takes a look at the flower, making you remember that Sophie died. Thanks a lot, game. I just started to feel better about myself. Then this giant monster jumps down and decides to fight you because you messed with this flower. All right, no big deal. We'll just fight this thing and then we'll leave. Oh, what is this, house music? How does anybody get anything done with music like this? Okay, now we leave for Gestral Village. Right as I leave, I'm introduced into another cutscene where it's called Mael's Nightmare. A black and white scene comes into play that shows a weird man, fire, blood, and Mael screaming at the Paintress in agony. A little weird, but okay. The very next scene is Gustave and Mael at the cliff of the camp, and Gustave is now throwing a rock, just like he did at the very start of the game, towards the Paintress. Here is where Gustave makes Mael promise that if they ever see that old man, that they run. We finally arrived to Gestral Village. By the way, this is a new bread. My last one broke when I stopped the recording, so now I have a new one. Okay. Here at Gestral Village, we've got all the homies, so let me go ahead and introduce them. Here we got Ren and Stimpy. You have Golgra and Noko. Everybody already knows Noko. We all love Noko. Golgra is actually the chief, or the chef, of the village. And up here, we've got Jack. Hey, Jack. We've got the doctor. He's a big boy. And over here, we've got Pinky. I don't know. I just like his hair. Then we got this guy. I know he's on fire, but trust me, he's fine. We got Lori and Testart over here. No, seriously. The music producer for everything you hear in this game. While you're here, you should also visit a couple places, such as the marketplace. Don't visit Larfleeze over here though. He's got stuff at the marketplace, but he refuses to sell any of it. Last but not least, we have the arena. Obviously, Gestrals love to fight, so of course they would have an arena to put their skills on display. So now that I've shown you around, let's go ahead and go to Golgra and see how we can cross the sea. Golgra basically tells us that we have to get to Esquier, who can help us cross the sea, but in order to get to Esquier, you need a password. But to get that password, she strong arms you into doing one of the arena challenges. So I enter the arena and I go through the different Gestrals and I get to the champion and oh, it's an expeditioner. So we find a fellow expeditioner by the name CL. We end up beating her ass, let's be honest, and then she joins the squad. Now that we've beaten the champion and then I guess recruited the champion, Golgra tells us the password. So I decide to leave, go to camp, and try to get some rest because I'm sure tomorrow's gonna be a long day. Shit. Man, after all these nightmares, I'm pretty sure Mael needs a therapist more than any Pictos or Lumina. So after witnessing Mael have a panic attack, we finally make it to Esquier's nest.
Golgra said to shout the password as loud as we can. Well, Gustave, you're the loudest.
Hey.
Come on, don't be shy.
Get out of my way!
Jesus Christ.
I finally meet Esquier, who's this huge creature full of whimsy and riddles. For some reason, he knows CL. Don't really know what that's about, and apparently she doesn't either. Esquier tells us that he will help us cross the sea, but he can't because he needs his special rock. And apparently his mortal enemy has it. Francois is a rock, a turtle rock thing. Don't tell him I said he was a rock though. So after surviving the strongest ice attack ever, I finally get Flurry and make my way back over to Esquier and is that another fucking Mime? Don't worry guys, I made quick work of him onto Esquier. So I give the rock over to Esquier and turns out it's not Flurry, it's a fake. Esquier then tells us that we have to go to Stone Wave Cliffs to find the real rock. So I leave with Esquier into the overworld map, and this is where I discover that Esquier's our travel from this point forward. I mean, he's not quite a horse, but we'll take it. So I guess I'll spend this time to go ahead and level my character. God damn it, another nightmare. Not just one, Mael has 2 more nightmares. Mael must have pissed off the ghost of Christmas future, present, and past because there's no way this girl's getting any sleep. There is one line from these nightmares that really just like shook me to my core.
I envy them. Those who can't see. Those who know not that they are not.
Something about that line just makes my skin crawl. I had no idea what that even meant at the time, but it was mysterious as fuck. So after dealing with whatever that was, Gustave and Mael decide to throw some more rocks and bond some more. This is where you learn that their close relationship is because Gustave actually adopted her. Either way, it's a very sweet relationship between the two. The very next thing I do is leave camp and kind of look around the map with Esquier. Now, of course, in this video, I'm not going to talk about every single thing that you can do in the overworld because that would take way too long. But one thing I will mention is the Gestral challenges. Basically, you have these islands that are scattered across the map where you can do these either races or obstacle courses in order to get a reward. And every reward is a swimsuit for every single character. I think this one's pretty cool. After a little bit of exploration, we finally make it to the Stone Cliffs. Here we see Esquier just absolutely annihilate a Burgeon. A Burgeon? You guys tell me how to say it.
Burgeon.
Then of course I fight my way through some Nevrons and I see this lit path. I start walking down this path where all of the lanterns on the ground start to light up as I'm walking past them. Kind of feels like a boss fight's coming. Just a feeling.
Let's get rid of him. The rock should be nearby.
Our very first big bad, the Lampmaster. Real quick, I just want to say this boss is clearly Dark Souls inspired. I mean, just look at how many hands and lamps he has. It's more than 2. But don't worry guys, I'm a pro gamer. I was able to beat this guy in 1 try. Or so I fucking thought. He has a second phase. All right, after a little bit of this and a little bit of that, I was finally able to beat Lampmaster. I get the rock, SGA is finally able to swim, and then we're able to finally move towards the Paintress. Thank God, it has taken me forever to get to this point. What was that? No.
Oh God. Well, you know, like I always say, it's not about the rock. It's more about...
Gustave.
Run.
Okay, all right, okay. Everything's fine. I'm just gonna fight the old man, and then we're gonna get on SGA, and we're gonna make it out of here.
For those who come after. For those who come after. Right?
No. You promised!
Guys, I think Gustave's... There's no way that they killed the main character. I mean, imagine the balls on the creators to kill the main character at the beginning of the game. I can't be the only one who thought that there was some type of way for them to resurrect this character. I mean, for God's sakes, we have tents that just resurrect people during fights. Why can't we just throw that on Gustave? But sadly, Gustave is actually dead. He's gone. Forever. I barely knew this character, and I've already cried with him, laughed with him, been angry with him. He's carried me through this entire story. And just like that, he's gone. I guess I found out why he had locked skills after all. As soon as the old man kills Gustave, Mime runs up to Gustave, and then the old man does this weird, like, Doctor Strange astral push thing. Mime's soul is pushed into some weird event horizon where a man and a woman are talking about her as if she shouldn't be there, almost like it's her parents, and then her soul is put back into her body. I don't know. We're on the same page here. I don't know what's going on at this point. You probably didn't know what was going on at this point, but as soon as her soul is put back into her body, the old man attempts to strike her down, and then a random stranger comes up and saves her. Who's this guy? Gustave from Wish? Wish Gustave? Dollar General Gustave? Dollar Tree, Gustave? So this guy saves Mael, has a conversation with the old man, and you find out they actually know each other, but the new guy doesn't like the Paintress, and the old man does. I don't know. A lot of stuff that's kind of just being thrown in at once here, but we just move on to the next scene. So the new guy walks up to the rest of the camp, explains that he's an immortal and that the other guy's name is Renoir and he's also an immortal. But the good news is that the new guy does want to join the squad, so I guess that's gonna happen now. We find out that the new guy's name is
Visage.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Bow! I have something to admit to you guys. I shaved my mustache.
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you.
I know, calm down everybody, but hear me out. I just lost potentially the most important character in a game I've ever lost before. I've never played a video game where the main character was taken from me not even halfway through the story. So I figured to respect the loss of Gustave, I'd go ahead and just shave off the mustache. Even with Verso being here and replacing the spot of Gustave, I still held out hope that he was going to be resurrected. And now Mael is just stuck grieving without him. She has to continue the rest of this journey without the one person that she looked up to. He made a promise that he would turn and run the moment that Renoir would show up, but he lied. The moment that Renoir showed up, he told Mael to run and he defended her and died for it. Verso tries to walk up to Mael to console her, and she doesn't even want it. She knows what he's going to say. She doesn't want apologies. She wants to be left alone. I know that I can relate to Mael in this moment. Whenever I've had someone close to me pass away and people just keep saying, I'm sorry this happened to you, it gets exhausting. And with the amount of death that Mael has already seen, not only on the battlefield, but for every single Gamage, I'm sure she's tired of hearing the same thing over and over again. In those moments, we don't want apologies. We want a solution. We want the pain to go away. But as the motto goes, when one falls, we continue. Anyway, now that we can swim with Esquier, I decide to take some of my anger out on this big metal thing in the sea. It's time to kick some fucking ass. Never mind, on to the next thing. Verso mentions that in order to get to the Paintress, we have to go through this war-stricken island. As I go further into the island, Mael starts to express her concern with just how much death she is constantly seeing.
Everywhere we go, just death. Death and more death. Everywhere we go, just death.
Could you imagine being 16 years old and having to experience everything that she's had to experience? I wouldn't know how to address any situation, let alone the situation she's currently in. Mael has easily lost everyone she's ever cared about, and now she's marching her way to basically kill God. Oh my God, what the fuck is that? Welcome to the Gauntlet, everyone. is some anime level hype. The Dualliste is a prime example of what most big bosses are going to look like from this point forward. After defeating the Dualliste, I move forward to bury Gustave. That's right, I said bury. All of that hope of Gustave possibly coming back, possibly being resurrected through some magic miracle is gone. This is where Gustave lies for the rest of the game. I find it really interesting how this game allows you to get connected with Gustave in the first portion of the game. I mean, obviously he's the main character from the very start, and they give you just enough time to get connected and think that he's going to be there the entire game, and then make you swallow the fact that he's not coming back. He dead. The Colonel dead. I know this moment with Mime talking to Gustave through the grave is probably a really emotional one that had a lot of people crying, but I'm too manly for that. There's no way that I could cry to something so So after saying goodbye to Gustave for the last time, I make my way out to go see Monoko at Monoko Station. But before I go get Monoko, I need to go visit somebody. Yeah, suck it, stupid sheep! This is for Gustave, you pink-ass bitch! So when I arrived to Monoko Station, I learned that Monoko's actually a Gestral. And Monoko's also the father of Noko. Monoko isn't just any Gestral either. He's a Gestral that somehow can turn into Nevrons. So after beating Monoko and listening to the jazziest theme song in the world, we end up learning a gradient attack, and then we head to Old Lumierre. Verso believes that the heart of the Paintress is actually at Old Lumierre. So in theory, if we destroy the heart, we're able to destroy the Paintress. I arrive at Old Lumierre, notice that there's these giant buildings scattered everywhere, and in order to get to the heart of the Paintress, we have Monoko show off a little bit, and he fucking blew up the building. The team ends up getting split up. Lune, Ciel, and Monoko end up splitting into one group, and then Verso and Mime split into another. And of course, Noko tagged along. So as I finally approach the center of Old Lumierre, is actually a replica of that manor that we've seen multiple times before. Mime walks up to the manor, saying that this place looks familiar, as if she's seen it before. As Mime approaches, the door actually opens, revealing a hollow-faced woman and the girl that Mime keeps having nightmares about. It's at that moment that we actually discover that Renoir is Verso's father. But I didn't really have time to process it because you immediately have to fight this guy. No big deal, he didn't just kill, I don't know, the main character of the game or anything. So the squad gives it their best, I give it my best, and yet we still don't beat him. But at the very end, he shoots one final shot and it hits.
Broken.
Why can't you accept who you are?
What is that? Will you tell me your name?
The manor and Renoir disappear, and the only thing that's left is Monoko holding Noko. I know it wasn't that long ago when Gustave died, but Noko is dead. I know most games have a really hard time with killing off children, but Noko was very clearly a child Gestral. Noko has been here for almost the entire ride. We've known Noko since we found Mael. This game just kept reminding me that death is never expected. It's never anticipated. These characters weren't prepared for Gustave and Noko to die, just like I wasn't prepared for any of my loved ones to die. Even though Noko has passed, we learned back at camp that technically Gestrals can be resurrected. But the problem with that is that when Noko's resurrected, he won't be the same person anymore. So the Noko that they know and love is effectively gone. Well, now the only thing we can do is to find a way to get through the barrier. The barrier being the thing that's preventing us getting to the Paintress in the first place. I learned that the curator is actually the only person that can create a weapon strong enough in order to break the barrier. But here's the catch. We have to go fight the Axons, two giant bosses who Verso couldn't beat even though he's immortal. Well, it looks like we really don't have any other options. It's time to go fight the Axons. The Axons are located on two separate islands, one of them being the Visage and the other being Sirene. So I head towards Visage to go fight the Mask Keeper. Once you get there, you have to choose between a few different paths or go straight for the boss. I, as a man of culture, went through all of the paths first and then went and fought the Mask Keeper. And let me tell you, this guy is fucking huge. It's this giant creature with floating masks that swings its giant Walmart-shaped arms at you. But here's the thing, after you beat the first phase and the second phase, there's actually a brand new character you have to fight that turns out is actually the Mask Keeper. I'll be honest, the second guy is a little bit easier than the first one, so I beat him fairly quickly, but I did in fact beat him, so I was able to gather the chroma from him and then head to Sirene. Once I get to Sirene, I walk in and see this giant coliseum, and calling this place giant is an understatement. It's huge. Sirene is located at the bottom of the Colosseum. Sirene is a giant woman-like creature that has a long flowy dress and consistently sings throughout the entire Colosseum. This singing is no normal singing either. Apparently, this can hypnotize and entrance people until they die. So just gonna put my earplugs in and make my way through the Colosseum. I finally, after like an hour or two going through all of the hallways, make it to the bottom. Right before getting to Sirene, I see this guy who's basically just sewing away at a 9 to 5, but it doesn't really seem to be interested in fighting. It actually gives you the option to not fight him at all. But I had to level, so. I get to Sirene, and then she immediately puts everybody under a spell that shows them all of their dead family and friends. What the fuck, dude? I just saw Gustave and Noko die. Can I not have 5 minutes to grieve? Please? All right, that's it. I've had enough. It's time to kill this thing and get out of here. It's over right now. Okay, maybe not right now. Maybe like in a little bit. Give me some time to learn the parry window. So after beating Sirene, Lune basically nukes her in the face, and they were able to gather the chroma to go back to the curator. The curator makes us a fancy little sword for Mael, and then we head towards the barrier. Once getting to the barrier, we're able to poke it with the sword, make it go away, and then arrive to the bottom of the monolith. Finally, we've arrived where the Paintress is. Everything we've done, everything we've lost, has been for this moment. Don't look at the timestamps. Don't worry about it. So I walk up to the Paintress and attack her, and nothing happens. She doesn't move, she doesn't respond, she doesn't even take damage. But that is when the hollow-faced woman from the manor appears. Turns out that is actually the Paintress. So I follow the Paintress, the real Paintress, into the portal to go inside of the Monolith. After fighting a few Nevrons and of course a Mime along the way, I finally make it to what looks like the event horizon of a black hole. Walking through this giant room, I'm caught off guard by the one and only Renoir. This is the fight that we've been waiting to have since the beginning of our expedition. At this moment, we finally get the chance to kill Renoir. After everything he's done, after killing all of the expeditioners at the start, after killing Gustave, we finally get to put this man in the ground. And let me tell you, the music score for this fight at the start of the fight had me put my controller down for an easy 5 minutes. I think the most popular clips I've seen from this game online is from this very moment. The musical score here literally gives me goosebumps. This is the most important fight of the game up to this point. We're fighting for everyone we've ever lost on this island. We're fighting for everybody who's ever went on an expedition. Verso is fighting his literal dad. This fight is so emotionally deep, and I'm going to savor every single moment. Oh my god, is that a lion? And I died. After a couple tries, I eventually beat Renoir. But right as I thought that I had beaten Renoir, the curator shows up and actually shows Mime that she can gommage Renoir. I'm sorry, what? After Mime finally defeats Renoir, the man that had been torturing everybody for so long, we can finally move forward to the Paintress, the real Paintress. The Paintress waits for us at the peak of the Monolith. She addresses Mime as Alicia, and she says that she knows Verso and wants him to come home. When Verso rejects her invitation, she actually calls Verso one of his creations. I have no idea what that means, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is that we finally beat the Paintress and end this 67-year streak of gommaging people every single year. This is the fight. This is what we've been waiting for this entire time. From the moment that we saw Gustave with a rose talking to Mime to now, this is what we've been wanting the entire time. We can finally avenge decades of lost life right now. Of course, we can only beat her if I learn how to parry. And she's got a second phase. And I died.
Renoir can grieve however he likes, but I get to grieve my own way.
Now this is how you do a final boss. Holy shit, it took me at least 7 times to beat her. Not only is the music good here, but the fight was incredible. She quite literally rips open a new dimension just to attack you. Excuse me, what? I thought we were fighting weird monsters on an island. I didn't realize that we were fighting literal God. After I finally beat her second phase, she goes into her third phase. But it's not what you think. The Paintress lies down on the ground and doesn't attack. Even after attacking her, she has no response, even to the point where she heals the party. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I imagined when it came to fighting the Paintress. At this point, it feels like I'm just beating up on an old lady. But anyway, I gotta do what I gotta do. We did it, guys. We beat the Paintress. The game is over. We beat the final boss. Now we get to have our cutscene where we go back to Lumierre and everybody celebrates. Why is everybody vanishing? Everybody made it back to Lumierre safely. We get there and everyone celebrates and dances, and Mime has to deliver Gustave's journal to her sister and the little boys that looked up to him, which didn't definitely make me cry. But then we cut over to Verso, who's sitting at the edge of the dock. Verso has a letter that he received from his sister, Alicia. We listen to the words of Alicia through this letter just to learn the biggest lore drop I've ever heard in my entire life.
Brother, I tire of the conflicts and deceptions that plague our family and theirs. My family, a facsimile of yours, and this world, a mirror, painted by your mother, the Paintress, to stave off her grief. Seeing your expedition through would plunge us all into the abyss. For in ridding the world of the Paintress, you'd lose the sole force standing against the one who would erase us, the one who invokes the flowers of the Gamache. An act of love, for he does love her. Your father. On her monolith, she paints a warning for us all, of the few she can save as her power wanes. Your mother paints life, whilst your father, death. What will you paint?
There's a lot to learn, so buckle in. I'm gonna try to go through this as quickly as I can. Alicia, Verso, and Renoir are actually painted versions of a family from the real world. What's the real world? Well, it's the world outside the canvas. What's the canvas? The canvas is actually the world we've been playing in this entire time. We learned that the Paintress is actually the mother of the real family in the real world. We also learned that the reason why everybody was gommaged was because the father went into the canvas to stop the mother. I'm spitting. We also learned that the reason why everybody got gommaged is because the mother of the real family was attempting to prevent the father from erasing everybody in the canvas. Meaning that the numbers in the sky that the Paintress was painting every single year was a warning for how long she can keep Renoir from erasing everybody. And not the Renoir that we already defeated, the real world Renoir. So the moment that we defeated the Paintress, we gave Renoir full access to erase everybody. And he did. Lune, Ciel, Mael, everybody gone. And if that's not enough of a head spin for you, we're brought into the real world as Mael, who's actually named Alicia. We wake up inside of the manor that we've seen multiple times inside of this game. Alicia is scarred and burned. Wanna know why she's scarred and burned? Because the real life Desandre family had a house fire and their son Verso, the real Verso, died saving Alicia. And Alicia now suffers with burns all over her body. It's so bad she can't even speak. So Aline, the mother of the family, actually went inside of an old painting that Verso made when he was a child. See, this family has a gifted ability where they're able to paint a world inside of a canvas. Aline's grief was so strong that she went inside of Verso's canvas just to relive the rest of her life with Verso. That's exactly why we have painted versions of the real life family. Aline's grief was so strong that when she painted the family, she painted Alicia with her burns. In this story, we learned that Alicia is the reason why the manor caught on fire in the first place. She apparently took some advice from the writers, which there is no information on, that led to the manor catching on fire. So Aline going into the canvas to deal with the grief of her son is the reason why Renoir went into the canvas to stop her. As a painter, if you go into a canvas for too long, you will die. So Renoir actually stepped into the canvas to save his wife. All right, are you with me? Does everybody understand? Okay, back to Alicia. As I mentioned before, Alicia wakes up inside of the manor and her sister is calling her name. Her sister is actually a girl named Clair. Clair demands that Alicia goes inside of the painting to help Renoir get Aline out of the painting. So Alicia blue-skadoos her way into the painting. Now this part gets a little bit confusing, so let me explain. This part of the game of Alicia being inside of the manor is actually a prequel to the story. When Alicia went inside of the canvas, her mother's chroma was so strong that it wrote over her and made her live an entirely new life and lose her memory. And that is when we're introduced into Mime. Mime was born into this world, raised by a family, lost her parents, and then was adopted by Gustave. Meaning that Alicia literally got to live an entirely new life from the very beginning. No scars, no memories of her mistakes. She was able to live an entire 16 years inside of this canvas, being completely unaware of the world outside of the canvas. And then that brings us to Act 3. We arrive at Lumierre. Alicia, now back in the canvas with her brand new white hair, walks up to Verso. Alicia talks to Verso and tells him that she would rather be called Mime. Alicia then tells Verso that she's going to convince her father to not erase the canvas. Verso, on the other hand, seems to agree with Renoir. Verso believes that Aline is just in a make-believe world with a make-believe family. On the other hand, Mime believes that the original Verso would never want his canvas gone. He would never want the Gestrals or Esquier to be gone. Behind them, we see that the white tree turns to red, signifying that Renoir has officially arrived to Lumierre. As Verso and Mime walk their way to Renoir, Mime mentions that she actually hid the canvas. Mime is convinced now that her mother is out of the canvas that she has no way to find the canvas. So with that argument, Mime believes Renoir will agree with her and not erase the canvas. Verso and Mime walk up to the curator, who turns out to be Renoir this entire time. After Mime and Renoir embrace each other, we quickly learn that Renoir is not changing his mind.
For the sake of the living, we must part with the dead.
My goodness, the bars in this game are fire! Obviously, Mime doesn't agree with her father and says that the canvas is her home now. And who could really blame her either? She was quite literally born here and raised until she was 16 years old. She had an entire new life here. But Renoir doesn't care. He says that if Mime sticks around any longer, she runs the risk of dying here. But right as things were starting to get a little too heated, Esquier and Monoko pick up Verso and Mime and they head back to camp. As soon as we get back to camp, Mime practices and learns how to paint back Lune and Ciel. Now that everyone's here, they come up with a plan to stop Renoir. The only way for Mime to have enough chroma to fight her father is if they gather all of the chroma left over from all of the sealed off expeditioners. Remember at the beginning of the story when Gustave found the dead bodies and realized that they were turned to stone as if the chroma was being sealed away? Well, it was thanks to that observation by Gustave that they were able to gather enough chroma so they can fight Renoir. As soon as you show up to Lumierre, Mime summons an entire army of expeditioners.
Tomorrow comes.
The very moment I started to push my way to Renoir, I was absolutely floored. The random battles around me with expeditioners and creatures. The epic music with a guitar riff. Everything here is set up magnificently. As I march forward towards Renoir, I go through the theater or the opera house. This is where we see a giant blue ghost version of Verso. The music he plays here is sad. Incredibly sad. This song feels like a warm hug slowly fading away. It's like the moment before you go to bed and your parents hug you goodnight and they let go. That brief moment of when they let go is what this song feels like. By the way, if you did the painting at the very beginning of the game with Sophie, that painting's up here. You're welcome. Once I leave the theater, I eventually make it to this giant garden. On the other side of this garden is the end of the game. All of the pain and suffering that these characters have dealt with ends with Renoir. And with that, the final fight begins. This fight is incredible. The music, the scenery, Renoir summons the Axons in the background. I can tell that this is gonna be one hell of a fight. Okay, I may have leveled just a wee bit too much. Just a tiny bit too much. I kinda sorta like two-shot Renoir. But you know what? That's okay. We have a phase 2. Great job hiding the canvas, Mime. Jesus. And I basically one-shot phase 2. In fact, I hit phase 2 so hard, it skipped to phase 3 and then immediately to a cutscene.
Put aside the canvas. It's killing you both.
Not this time!
And that is a badass female character. That's it. We beat Renoir. But even after defeating him, he still asks his daughter to leave the canvas. He shows everyone that Aline is currently in the real world, sick and possibly dying. But even so, Mime refuses to leave. She even promises her father that she's gonna leave eventually. Renoir agrees and leaves the painting. But right after, Verso steps into the portal that Renoir left behind. This portal leads to the room where the soul of Verso lies. The very soul of the boy that's the reason for everyone's grief. That's the reason why this canvas even exists. Is right there. Verso kneels down to the boy that's supposed to be him, or who he's supposed to be. He asks the young boy if he's tired, and he says yes, and Verso says he's tired too. This is when Mime shows up. Mime says that Verso shouldn't be here and that he should leave. Verso then responds and says that she straight-faced lied to her father, that she's not going to leave when she says she's going to leave. But Mime argues that her life outside in the real world is in the shell of a body. Verso then quotes their father and says,
"Life keeps forcing cruel choices."
Stop quoting Papa!
Right after saying that, I'm provided a very cruel choice. Do I choose to fight as Mime and take down Verso, keeping the painting and keeping all of these people and creatures and all of these things we've come to love alive, but at the same time killing Mime, keeping her from her family, her real world family? Or do I pick Verso, erasing any chance of anyone ever being brought back in this canvas, but at the same time saving Mime, releasing the young boy from painting for eternity? I have to say that these two choices, neither one of them is good. They're both awful choices. Either way you look at it, people are going to die and people are going to suffer. With that in mind, I chose Verso. I couldn't live with the fact of this family out in the real world suffering through yet another cycle of grief. If I didn't choose Verso, Mime eventually would die, and the same exact thing would happen again. So with that, I take down Mime as Verso and get probably the saddest ending I've ever had in my entire life.
Don't do this. Don't leave me again.
And just like that, the story's over. The canvas is gone, and I'm left to carry the weight of this grief for the rest of my life. I'm sure by now you're probably wondering why I titled this video what I titled it. How did this game actually teach me to grieve? This game taught me how to better grieve my own loved ones. It taught me that death is sudden. Even when you're able to expect it, life still continues. It taught me that running away and living in a fantasy world is not dealing with the problem. You have to face the grief head on. You have to give yourself time to grieve. I'm sure many of you are still processing grief. I'm still processing grief. But thanks to this game, I feel like I have a better understanding of what that grieving process looks like. And hopefully you do too. I appreciate everybody watching the video. It's gonna take me forever to edit this thing. So if you could actually like and subscribe and maybe comment down below anything. You can say garble funk. But thanks again. If you watched all the way through, you're incredible, and I will see you in the next video.